Welcome to this edition of Trader Talk TV. Today we've got Benjamin in the office from Triton. Benjamin, welcome today.
Thank you.
Today we're going to talk about audio and measurement of audio, and then I'm leading into programmatic audio. So Benjamin, before we do that, just give us an overview of what you do and what Triton does.
Yes, hi. So I'm Benjamin. I oversee all the operations outside of US and Canada. We operate in about 45 countries, from the Americas, Asia, Africa, Europe, actually on all continents, I suppose, not in Antarctica at this moment, but we are operating in many countries with different flavors. It's all about audio. So we work with radio publishers, so standard AM, FM publishers, podcast publishers, and online music services. And we try to help them with a set of tools to monetize their audience. And so that's what Triton does. And I'm also in charge of the strategic partnerships outside of the US, because even though we're about 200 employees, there's a lot of countries to cover. So we need to have local partners that can feel and sense how the demand for online audio is at, and making sure to help the publishers monetize their audience.
Okay, so online audio is quite an exciting part of the ecosystem. There's a lot of players in there, Pandora, Spotify, a lot of publishers doing their own audio podcasts, etc. But one of the big problems obviously is measurement.
Yes.
And I believe the MRC in the US have come up with sort of a universal measurement strategy. So we want to talk about that today.
Yeah.
And then obviously talk about your own platform and how it sort of feeds into that. So let's just talk about that, what the MRC is doing in the US. Just give us an idea of what their objective is and how they're sort of rolling this out.
Yeah, so the MRC, in short for Media Rating Council, is the body that find the rules, because they have representative from the publishers and the agencies. So they establish the rules to measure audience reach on all type of channels, whether it's traditional, so TV, radio, or digital. They will set up rules saying what is a valid impressions or a valid unique listener or valid reach.
Yeah.
And they will establish those guidelines. And then if as a company, as a provider, whether you're Nielsen, Comscore, Triton, you want to get the stamp of approval, you need to follow the recipe that they give, and you need to be audited. So every year they force an audit to make sure that what you said you would be doing, you actually did it. And when the audit passed, then you get a renewal of the stamp of approval from the MRC. So Triton has been, since 2011, the only company offering an MRC accredited measurement service called Webcast Metrics.
Okay.
In the US. So in the US, we're the currency, meaning that the agencies, when they do the planning and they want to know how many impressions or budget they will allocate to online audio, then they use Webcast Metrics data to make that decision.
So let's talk about let's map out the MRC piece first,
Yeah.
and then we can go into the platform. So how does it work, and how does it bring all that detail together, and how do publishers use it?
So there's different endpoints that you have on audio. So you have a set of, I would say, of players like iTunes, Windows Media Player, Winamps, where you could listen to audio, whether it's downloaded or listen. Then you have a series of aggregators like TuneIn, iHeart,
Big
Player,
players,
and all of those. Then you have players like those controlled by the publisher, like Spotify, Pandora, SoundCloud, CBS. They have their own player.
Yeah.
And then lastly, you have a set of, I would say, either Wi-Fi or smart speakers. So whether it's Sonos, Amazon, Google, so all of those. So there's all of this is connected to a streaming infrastructure.
Right.
So there's sessions that starts, and what the MRC said here is you have a rule, like it has to be at least 1 minute duration, and then you need to measure every session from every type of player and the duration, and have a way to parse logs to eliminate fraudulent IP address or IP address coming from the publishers. You don't want to measure SoundCloud or Pandora employees listening to their own stream. So we eliminate a lot of that.
Okay.
And then it gives an output. So that output is actually the webcast metric tool from Triton. And you could see it two ways. So in the UI that we built, we have a software online. So you could log into this and see how many of your audience has been measured. And we can also, for some big clients like Pandora, Spotify, iHeart, push the data directly into the planning system like Telmar, MediaOcean, and Strata. So I think I'm hiding that part, but it's all the data is fed directly in those planning systems. So when the planners or the brand managers at the agency, they want to say, okay, this year we want to allocate how much of our marketing budget we're allocating to online audio, then they go into either their own planning system or using webcast metrics data, and they look at the scale and they say, okay, we will allocate like 20% or 15% of our budget with the scale based on our strategy and what we want to accomplish. So this is the official way of getting the data and pushing it to the planners, buyers, and all of these guys.
So effectively, this is a standardization of online audio.
Correct.
Basically. So this is a metric that the industry can follow, and it means that more money will flow to the audio space, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And eliminating fraud and all of that. So when the chief brand officer of Procter & Gamble said, this year we will only buy MRC accredited supply, what he meant was to make sure that he wouldn't buy false sites, robots, or all of that. So he said, if you don't have the MRC
accreditation... This is Mr. Pritchard who made his big grandstand
at the IAB Leadership Summit. Yeah. So he said, I won't buy stuff which is not accredited. The good news is online audio has been accredited since 2011 because everyone in the US is using the system. And then suddenly we started getting calls from the trade bodies and the other countries in
Which
Europe.
is the point I was going on to next. This is obviously very much a US standard.
Yeah, the MRC is a US standard. You're right.
So how do you, I mean, is this potentially something that can be followed globally? Because obviously there's a lot of publishers out there outside the US. So can this be used outside of the US, and how is that possible?
Yeah, yes. Our platform is available across the US. We actually measure a lot of publishers already, but it's not necessarily yet the official currency. So the system has been rolled out. And then a lot of those joint industry committee, that's the name of the bodies that determine the measurement practice in each of the countries, they don't necessarily have the same amount of resources than the MRC in the US. So often they will either be really inspired by the MRC and then do some regional variations, or they will simply adopt the MRC standard, saying it's all right for us, because what the MRC decided is not necessarily US centric in a sense. They said these are the rules to eliminate fraud, eliminate listenership coming from the companies, what is a valid session. I don't think that this will change per country. Sometimes what could change is saying instead of a minute threshold, it's maybe 30-second threshold. Okay. Or sometimes for the IP address in some region, we need to parse them a bit differently because they're less precise than in the US. Yeah. But aside from those, I think it's easy to use the same measurement system across the globe.
So this fits into your global platform then?
Yes.
So let's explain how this works at your own platform for programmatic audio.
Yeah, so
do you want to use the rub?
Yeah, we could.
Let's rub it out here.
Yeah, we could maybe erase this and then go to the platform. I would say one thing I didn't point at, aside from the Telmar or planning system integration and in the Webcast Metrics UI is we publish rankers, and then I'll dive into the platform.
Sure.
So we have the US ranker.
Right.
We have also a global. So that shows the top 20 of all the publishers across the globe.
Oh, I see. So basically by what? By volume?
Yeah, so we measure what we call average active sessions. So the number of concurrent listener in an hour listening to the system.
Right.
The average duration of those streaming sessions.
How often do you update these ranks?
So the ranker is published on a monthly basis. So our system measures it in real time, but the ranker is updated on a monthly basis.
And is that fed into the buyers basically about
the
type of media
exactly,
they want? Right.
Exactly. Okay. Then we published a LATAM ranker recently, and the reason why we will be expanding with the other countries like maybe Middle East, Southeast Asia, Western Europe is because of the marketplace.
Yeah.
So A2X, our programmatic marketplace, was launched in the US 4.5 years ago. We had strategic partners like CBS and some key publishers like Slacker, MLB, part of the exchange, with some key buyers like Xaxis, working with proactive, I would say, platform like AppNexus to start having the market, to create the market, because before then nothing was traded programmatically in audio. So that was the start. But then what happened is people were using these two, saying, okay, I see the scale in the US, but I need to see in LATAM because it's growing fast in LATAM. And now we see the growth of A2X in Southeast Asia, in the Middle East, and then in
how do you get access to this data?
So this is actually on Triton website.
It's on your platform.
It's public. You don't need to pay for it. You go on tritondigital.com, and there's a menu with the rankers, so you can go there and see them. So you don't need to pay. You need to pay when you use a planning system because you're using that tool, but not to just get the top 20 or 25 depending on the rankers.
So how does this connect into your programmatic audio piece?
So we have our exchange called A2X.
Right.
So A2X is a marketplace that is available for DSPs. So we have DSPs like I talked about, AppNexus. We have the Trade Desk. We have Audio Trade. Put acronyms, and then we're working in adding others like MediaMat to Mogul, DBM. So all the buyers using those, they want to be able to trade audio, because one thing that we realized working with this, we were wondering for 4 years, do we create a DSP for audio because the buyers will think this is how I want to buy audio, or do we simply plug with existing DSP?
That's a better strategy.
Exactly.
Nobody needs another bidder. Nobody needs another bidder.
I fully agree with you. So that's what we also realize. And the other thing is, these guys do a tremendous job, the DSPs too.
And they also have a lot of liquidity for you guys.
Yeah, they have liquidity.
So what's the point in competing with them?
Exactly, and they have a really excellent relationship with the traders, the planners, the agencies.
And the agencies,
Yeah, so they're more, from our perspective, a channel partner to bring audio and promote audio.
I'm curious now, if from a DSP's perspective, right? Do they have like an audio file, and that effectively, when they see the user they want, that's pushed to your publishers? That's how it works.
So it was a bit complicated until the IAB released OpenRTB 2.4.
Right.
And DAST, and now an updated VAST. So basically with OpenRTB 2.4, which was released 2 years ago, because they just released 2.5 a few months ago, it added the audio object.
Right.
So when the bidder bids, we passed the parameters that shows this is audio.
Yeah.
And then when they see audio, then in their creative management, they go fetch an audio creative. So DAST is almost like VAST, but instead of being a video file, it's an audio file with a companion banner.
Right.
So it's all automated. That's why with the standard from the IAB, now it's fully automated. So these guys that are still working on fine-tuning the pipes is to adjust their bidder to recognize an audio request and then sending the right format.
So this is interesting. So obviously we're going to talk about. I think the MRC data is here.
Yeah, to show the scale. So all of that
is fed into the DSPs, or it's coming from?
It's not fed directly in the DSP, but the buyers will see, oh, this is the scale of audio. I want to buy audio because there's all the scale I need. I can reach younger, average age, middle age, or older people, because there's people listening to audio, whether it's podcasts, music service, or AM, FM across the globe.
So a couple of questions. Give me an overview of type of publishers using A2X. I mean, what type of publishers are in here?
So here we have actually the three types of publishers. We have the AM, FM stations. So we have clients like CBS, Talpa in the Netherlands, Southern Cross Austereo in Australia, Prisa in Spain, Latin America, Bandeirantes. In the US, actually, we have plenty of them. We have like MLB that has streams, Cumulus, Intercom, and all of those stations. So we have traditional AM, FM, but keep in mind that we do digital audio, so it's not their AM, FM.
It's basically online. It's through
online.
The player.
So when you listen on a mobile phone or on a desktop or a smart speaker, and one thing also to know is we have a technology that replaces the over-the-air spot.
Yeah.
So if you listen to, let's say, ESPN from London, you don't get New York City
ad.
You get the London-based ad, not just before the stream starts, but we cover all the spots.
So you do spots within the actual thing.
Yeah. So if you were to tune in on real radio and then open a mobile phone, you will get the same signal when either the host is speaking or music is playing.
Yeah.
But at the stop set at the ad break, then everything is replaced in real time and can be programmatically targeted, saying you're in that neighborhood, you're in Soho, London. I know there's there's a pret-a-manger in that place, so you do like a targeted ads and not just like a random.
Can I ask a question in terms of like how you measure? I mean, what metric are these people buying against? Is it performance or is it branding?
It's
more curious. I mean, like is it reach and frequency or is it?
Yeah, I would say that all of the above is true, but I think reach and frequency and branding are the bulk of the buys, because they see that audio brings brand awareness and then we'll support direct response campaigns. So a lot of our partners, what they do is they add audio on top of their media mix, so they see that when they add audio on top of, let's say, display and video performance-based campaign, they see an increase in clicks or conversion because people seems to trust what is happening on the audio feed more than, I suppose, a display banner on a website.
Right.
So it brings brand awareness and brand trust, so it improves the overall performance. So that's what we see from a lot of these guys, and also some of the DSPs like the Trade Desk, to Mogo, MediaMath. They also have a lot of brand buyers. Some other DSPs may have more direct response buyer, but I would say that the top DSPs we're working with, they do have access to the branding budget.
And do you talk to, so when you're pitching this, obviously you've got good relationships with the DSPs, but are the people who are using the DSPs predominantly trading desks within the agencies, or is there sort of a conflict between sort of the audio departments, like the radio buyers and the digital buyers? Is that something you're seeing more? Because obviously this is, if from a scalability proposition and for incremental revenue, it makes a ton of sense for CBS to sell this abroad or whatever. But I'm wondering, actually, the local buyers who are in the agencies, is this conflict between the audio radio guys and the digital buyers, who probably are the guys pulling the levers at the DSPs?
Yeah, so I would say it was really the case when it started. Actually, it was not necessarily conflict, but the DSPs like Xaxis, the trading desks like Xaxis said, we want to buy audio, but then they didn't know where to find the budget. So they had to talk to the radio buyers.
Right.
And like 5 years ago, they said, like, what is programmatic audio? So it was more like an, I suppose, a clash of thinking than anything else.
Yeah.
Then that in some agencies resulted in having conflicts between the traditional broadcast buyers and digital buyers. But I would say that what we've seen in the past 4 or 5 years, operating first just in the US, the marketplace, and then in many countries, is a merger or a joint work between the two teams. So I think there's probably still conflicts in some of the offices, but we've seen a lot of working together, synergies between broadcast buyers and trading desks. So to answer your question is, you probably have a bunch of trading desks using the DSP, but you also have, I would say, digital agencies, not just specialized in programmatic, but buying any type of digital agencies, and more actually traditional agencies, broadcast agencies, either asking us for a recommendation of a DSP to use, or that did select a DSP and are diving into programmatic. So that's why sometimes you have some DSPs that are, when you see a DSP which is not just geared for geeks that wants to optimize, then I think they have a lot of room to grow with the more broadcast buyers that has sophisticated buy, but not at all performance based on clicks and stuff like that.
So one final question, obviously, I'm just curious, you're the cold face of a lot of this. How fast is the programmatic audio segment growing? I mean, we hear a lot of conversations, particularly like from the likes of Spotify, who now come in and they have an audio product. I know they're pushing the video as well, but just curious to see how big it's growing, or is there a lot of now money heading towards that direction?
I think so. I realized I didn't finish that part. So we have AM, FM, then we have pure plays like SoundCloud, in the exchange, Slacker, 977. We're adding local pure plays like in the Middle East, Angami, or Melon Music, Langit in Southeast Asia. There's a lot of global and local brands, and then the last bit is podcasts. Everything related.
Well, I was just about to ask that. Obviously, everybody's listening to podcasts now.
Yeah. So I think podcasts, you have actually two types of podcasts. I think the trend of downloaded podcasts is solid, but what we're seeing growing fast is more apps.
Yeah, and I use can't remember. There's a specific app I use for podcasts, and it's really, really good. But
yeah, so these podcasts are, from my perspective, more like a bit the online music service equivalent for talk content.
Yeah.
So you just stream those podcasts rather than download
Surely there's
them.
a huge opportunity there.
Yeah,
so a lot of those podcasts aren't even monetized very well.
So what happened is A2X is a marketplace that is connected with all of this, but you talked about Spotify, but SoundCloud had the same strategy to do PMPs. So you have like some private deals that I'm not spelling that right. So there's some private deals being set up. So that's feeling that the demand is really like getting hard into the audio space.
Right. They see an opportunity to
either they want to do an audience buy across all the different assets, or they want to do private deals. That's why we're releasing a new layer here called Yield Up.
Yield Up, right.
Yeah. So yield optimization. So Yield Up, which is an SSP for audio. And the reason that I said we don't need a DSP for audio is because you want to buy across all media.
Yeah.
But you need an SSP for audio.
You're right.
Because you need to be able to get on-demand content, downloaded content, and add replacement stitching content on the fly.
Right.
And then these guys, you don't want to tell the trade desk you need to upload an Ogg Vorbis file for Spotify, a AAC file for SoundCloud, an MP3 file for CBS, and that codec and that bitrate. So what we do is they upload whatever they want, provided it's audio. And then here we have a transcoding farm that will just package the asset in the right format for whether you listen to the same ad on CBS, SoundCloud, or a podcast. The level of compression, the quality of the file, and all of that is correctly tuned. And then we have industry separations, because in a lot of those environments, you don't want to have two competitors advertising back to back, or having like the same ad back to back forever. So we need to have ways to correctly enforce industry separation and frequency cap in complicated environment. It's far from being only browser or only mobile app. It's a mix
across
of
the voice.
it's really cross device from smart speakers to dumb players.
So that's what Yield Up is
so
doing,
Yield Up is
solving
really the
that.
tool.
So basically giving if A2X is probably your
name of the marketplace.
Is your marketplace, but this is your spot buy.
Yeah, that's our software.
Yeah.
And we wanted to make it easy. So you have, let's say, a big buyer using the trade desk, and they say, I want to target SoundCloud. You don't want to have like 200 emails trying to figure out how to make that thing. You just go into Yield Up. You select the name of the buyer with the ID of the buyer, saying they're using the trade desk, and this is on my inventory, and this is what I'm enabling and allowing. And then, is it a private auction or is it a fixed bid?
Is this going to be RTB enabled?
Yeah, so this is fully RTB 2.4.
Right.
So this is pure programmatic.
Okay.
But supporting the 4 types of programmatic deals. So we support open marketplace,
right?
A private marketplace. So we have some publishers that wants to aggregate across a group, like all sports. So they create like a sub marketplace, or a buyer like we have in India. We work with Madhouse. They have their own set of publishers. So they want to make sure they have a deal that span across all of those publishers. We support then also like the standard PMP, which is I'm buying on this publisher at that price point.
Yeah.
And then because it's the audio industry, when a publisher is using our publisher ad server called TAP, they can reserve the inventory.
Right.
So it's actually programmatic, automated guaranteed programmatic deals.
Yeah.
So we support all of those angles. And then in terms of analytics, we've actually partnered with Meta Market to get the best of class in terms of overview of what's happening in the exchange and how to fine tune.
So they're the UI layer, analytics layer, top, reporting layer.
Because we felt that, again, a bit like for this, you don't need to reinvent the wheel.
And Meta Markets is pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why we decided to partner with these guys to make the analytics part.
Okay. Well, Benjamin, thanks for that. Thanks for the overview of MRC and overview of your platform and how you're rolling this out globally. And we'll have you in again when is the Yield Up sort of launch?
At the same time you're watching this clip.
Well, there you go, viewers. It's out there. So get on to it. Thanks again, Benjamin.
All right.
And that was Triton Talk TV, and we'll see you next time.